All right. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this session of the Banned Books and Censorship mini conference sponsored by Library 2.023 and San Jose State University School of Information. And we have Valerie Byrd and April Dawkins here for the session Get Ready, Stay Ready, Community Action Toolkit. My name is Missy Williams. I am from Delaware Libraries, and I'm going to be the moderator, and I'll try to keep up in chat if you do have questions, and then we will get to them throughout the session. And I'm going to just hand it all over to Valerie and April. Welcome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. We are so glad to be here. Welcome to Get Ready, Stay Ready. And we have kind of two parts to our presentation. We're going to do some things talk about some things you can do proactively to get ready when censors come knocking at your door, and then talk about the toolkit, so that will help you like what to do when it happens, right? But first, I want to introduce you to our team. So the information in this presentation is developed by some of the folks that are on the Get Ready, Stay Ready Community Action Toolkit team. And your presenters today are myself, Valerie Byrd. I'm an instructor at the University of South Carolina, and Dr. April Dawkins, who is an assistant professor at UNC Greensboro, and we are part of the team that developed the Get Ready, Stay Ready Community Action Toolkit. So let's get started with these proactive steps that you can take. So we are both kind of coming to this as former school librarians, now educators of school librarians. So some of what we're going to say today is specific to school librarians, but can be applied to public library settings, academic library settings, and a variety of other settings as well. So just keep that in mind as I go through these slides. So first, in your libraries, don't be afraid to have rotating displays in your library all the time that openly support the things that you might be scared of, and don't leave them up for extended periods of time. If you offer a wide variety of displays that cover a wide variety of things, then you're showing the depth of your collection, and you can showcase your support for all kinds of topics. Some of which your community probably supports, and maybe some that you don't even support. It's important to let your community know that you are there for all students and not just certain groups. Make sure your displays are varied in that they coincide with a month's theme, like Pride Month, for example, that's this month, but don't relegate displays to just those months. So if in your library right now you have a Pride display, those books are most likely going to fit in other displays at other times throughout the year, right? Make sure to have displays that offer a wide variety of representation regardless of the month's themes. And so that thinks about or talks about the intersectionality of the books that you have on display. So for your Pride Month displays, you should also have books by and about disabled characters, right? So in the school library, and again, even in public library settings, because you'll have volunteer groups and teen advisory boards, for example, who can do some of these things, but more proactive things that you can do is have student volunteers or affinity groups create the displays. It's a great way to get student involvement. A school librarian has shared that they have student volunteers who love to do these displays, and they always garner a lot of attention when they create the displays. And that goes into also just the fact that when a kid recommends a book to another kid, they're going to want to read it. It's not always something they want to do because a grown-up has recommended it to them. So letting your volunteers create your displays puts an interesting twist on it. And if somebody maybe has something to say about one of those displays, you can say, well, we had one of our teen volunteers create it. So that just goes to show that they want to see it and they need to see these resources. Don't label the books with identity-based subject headings, for example, LGBTQIA+ or gays fiction. Aside from being bad practice, it makes it too easy for parents or community members to find those kinds of books. We know is those books that are LGBTQ and about race issues. And so don't make it necessarily easy for those groups to find, but make it easy for those who want the books, right? So the examples here are to create ways for students to find these books by offering a physical list they can look at while they're in the library. There is a suggestion of, I'm sure all of you have seen those plastic binders that in back in the day was like the Rolodex, right? Or like the phone book with the plastic pages, so you can put display or book lists in those plastic sleeves, and then folks can come and flip through those. So that's one way you can put like any new LGBTQIA themed books that you might have can be on display that way. Also build digital collections or reading lists that can be accessed via, maybe a username and password for just your patrons or just your students. It helps that idea of, we've got plenty of examples of book challenges, book banning, things being put out on social media by people that aren't even a part of a certain library community. So that will help kind of make it very hard for that to happen. At the beginning of each school year, when students come in for their first library visit, discuss with them how it's your job as a librarian to build a collection that has something for everyone in the building. Some books might not be something they are interested in or even agree with, and that's okay. Some books might not be for them, but they are for someone else. And ask them to talk to you if they find a book that they are concerned about. Explain how just because something isn't for them, that doesn't mean we're going to keep it from everyone else. And I think this is important to consider. In the opening panel discussion, there was a lot of talk about being proactive, and I think this speaks to that, in that we need to make sure that our community knows how we're selecting our books. They need to know what is on the shelves and why. We are all doing what we are supposed to be doing by following our selection policies, and when a book is challenged, we encourage or we make folks go through that reconsideration policy and just be transparent that those things are there and why you're selecting the books. I think that goes very far with censorship in general, is just being proactive and letting everyone know what you have on your shelves, why you have it, and what to do if they don't like it. Offer privacy covers for students if they want to check out a book with a book cover that might signal it's LGBTQIA or something else with potential to offend. And this is also a way for students to read a book they might be embarrassed to have their friends see them read. So I really think this is an interesting idea to offer in a public library setting or in a school library setting, having some sort of cover that folks can use for their book if they just don't want anyone else to know what they're checking out. Make sure you have a library task force or team in place. Make sure you have teachers, parents, administrators, and students on this team. And again, speaking for the public libraries, make sure you have your community members on there. You have librarians, you have board members, you have other library workers. That team should be made of all representatives, all stakeholders for your library. This team needs to meet regularly to discuss library programs, programming ideas, and offer feedback. Talk to them about the purpose of a library and use information from the American Library Association, like the Bill of Rights, and for school librarians, the standards from the American Association of School Librarians. Make public, again, on your website, how you choose books and how you determine appropriateness for your patrons and other relevant information like your selection policy, the Library of Bill of Rights. Make that very easy for folks to find. If you're comfortable, make public a way concerns can be brought to you, like a Google form, or point them to the policy for challenges. This will let people know you are open to looking again at a book or having a conversation. Make your library available during open house for parents or caregivers to stop in and talk. The more you open those lines of communication, the harder it will be for people to act like they don't know the proper communications or how to communicate with you. And so now and like what was happening in, or what was mentioned in the panel earlier, it's not about if it's going to happen at this point, right? But more when it's going to happen. So when you get a book challenge or somebody complains about a display or a program, what are you going to do? So we talked about having that library team in place. Make sure you have that team and make sure that you let them know that someone is complaining about a book that is on your shelves, and then follow the procedures for those book challenges. So I think that maybe to take a step back really quickly and make sure you know where those resources are, know your reconsideration policy, know your selection policy, know those things and know how to get them very quickly when you need to. If you do not know where those things are, or you do not have a plan in place, then it's time to create a plan. You want to take advantage of peacetime, is when we'll talk about our toolkit in just a moment, but we had a speaker who mentioned the importance of peacetime and taking advantage of that. So if you don't know those policies and you don't already have a challenge happening, now's the time to really get yourself organized. And folks that will help you are your state associations. If you're a school librarian, your school library association for your state, or your public library association for your state. Of course, our national organizations as well are key in helping you with these challenges. And then also the Get Ready, Stay Ready Community Action Toolkit is an excellent resource. So what I'm going to do now is stop sharing my screen so that my co-presenter, April Dawkins, can share her screen.
Here we go. Hi, everyone. So this is the toolkit that we work together as a team to put together, and we continue to add to the resources that are available here. And you'll see here that it is intended to be for members of the community, and really there are lots of resources we can use here as librarians and as educators, but these are really intended for parents and community members and caregivers and guardians to be able to speak up and understand what's happening. So we have lots of resources here. I'm going to walk through just a little bit of it. And what you'll find is these different tiles take you to different types of resources. If you want to know who all was involved in the creation of this toolkit, then you can see the members of our advisory board below. And you can also see our sponsors for the creation of this toolkit: University of Iowa, Penguin Random House, and EBSCO, who contributed toward this project. So I'll just walk through these. So one of the things that we wanted to do was to create sort of a place to house a lot of different resources. And so the first one is resources from library organizations. And so these are from all different types of local, state, and national organizations, and even international organizations. You know, some of these are also created by entities like PEN America, Book Riot. So we've got some toolkits, lots of different kinds of toolkits, web pages that we recommend, and then also some handouts, either as JPEG files or PDF files. So just a lot of different resources to take a look at, and they connect and sort of pulls all of those resources together in one location. So the second one is resources for civic engagement. So, you know, who has the power to make changes? What entities are involved? And so what you'll find on this page is information about speaking at school board meetings, writing letters to the editor, legislation that's been proposed, court cases that are taking place. So we update this fairly regularly. There are other organizations that also have created these sort of civic action toolkits. And there's lots of different scripts and guides that you can use here. So for example, here's how you can help. Crisis communications, I'll talk a little bit more about them again later, but they have a newsletter. How to talk about book bans. So then there's a couple of things about talking about how you want to be involved. So the other thing that's on here is a state legislative action tracker. And this is just a Google spreadsheet that was created, and it follows legislation that has been proposed and whether or not it goes into effect. And this is updated every couple of weeks, and it was last updated at the last week of April. So it's due for another update. My graduate assistant updates this, and she graduated. So this summer I'll be doing the updates. But you can look at it by state. You can find your state, see what information is there. You can go and find a link to the information. And then you can also see what the latest action is on that. So you can see here we have Arkansas signed into law on April 4th. So that was the most recent action. And you have a little bit of a bill summary. And really the bill summary, what it does is talk about the impact it will have on libraries or on education as it impacts libraries and access to information. So, it's not a complete summary of the bill, but it's a summary of its impact on libraries. So you can also submit additional things. There's a Google State Legislative Action Google form. If you have a legislation in your state that has been proposed or has it's in committee or anything like that, and you don't see it on the tracker sheet, please do send that. It'll come to me and I'll get this updated. Okay. Our third tile is resources for specifically LGBTQIA support. So we know that this is an area that is targeted a lot by censors. And so this is to help with that. So facing these types of challenges. So for example, drag story hour is an area that happens a lot. So there is a whole workbook on dealing with that. This was created, so this one on intellectual freedom and LGBTQ plus materials in school libraries was created by some of our emerging leaders in ASL. So inclusive curriculum. So these are not just about libraries, but curriculum standards and making sure the curriculum is inclusive, and also about student rights as an LGBTQ individual. So what rights do you have? So this can be really helpful for that area of censorship. Our training resources get updated as we develop more. Now, the thing up here at the top, we just finished a webinar series on crisis communications, and you don't need to register anymore. It's now all available on the website, and I'll show you it's in our recorded webinars section. There are some additional trainings from other organizations here, and then we have some of our own short courses. So library language for caregivers. So vocabulary is something that a lot of people who aren't in the library world may not understand. So for example, what is weeding? What does that mean? So this is looking at terminology. And then this other one is why diverse books matter. And this looks at, it's a short course that looks at why it's important that we have books that represent all of our readers. Now, I mentioned the webinars. So this is our resource with all the different webinars we have. And we're going to continue to do these as we move forward, hopefully. So this is a group called Penny's Communications who did these. And these are 6 webinars that were created. They're freely available. They're on YouTube. And then we've got the PowerPoints for them as well. And so yeah, there's 4 sessions that they did. They also have additional resources and handouts from them. So for example, how do you create social media terms of use? So there's a sample of a social media terms of use with the public library. So how do you answer questions to the media? So these are things that are really helpful, all of these webinars, and then the handouts as well. Some additional ones, and that you will find, and we continue to add to these. Some of them are things that we created, and then some of them are things that we've curated. Then stuff you should read are just news articles, stories that I think are important, that not just me, but all of us think are important. So just things that have been in the news, and why this is an important issue and why people in the community should care. And so this is just really helpful information, and perhaps explain some of the things that are happening around us. Then our mirrors, windows, sliding glass doors, and prisms section is on diverse collections. So again, there's a section to begin with that one of our advisory board members put together about why we make the selections we do, and that explains that. And then we've got lots of resources here for building diverse collections. And then a curated list by another advisory board member that includes lots of blogs and resources for underrepresented groups, to making sure that we have diverse representation in our collections, all types of book awards and book lists, and even book finders like databases, notable children's lists, mock award blogs, a selection of US specific and international awards, which can be really helpful as well. And then letters, templates, and guides can be really helpful to share with your community members, because often as librarians, it's difficult for us to, particularly if you're in a school library, stand in front of the school board and speak, because they're like, you're just advocating for your job. Really what we're doing is advocating for our patrons, our students. But empowering community members to speak up on behalf of their kids or children or their libraries and their library collections is important. So there are some sample letters here of what you should include, thank you notes, authors, superintendent letters, and other templates for writing. And then we've got templates for public speaking. And then these are also some testimonials. So if you click on these, it will take you to, this is a testimonial from a student. This was their speaking. So those are some great places to start if you've got students, parents, caregivers, or community members who want to speak up about this, so that the only voices being heard aren't the ones that are the loudest, that everyone has opportunity to speak. And then media for sharing, it's just some things that you can incorporate into your social media. These are videos that could be shared. And so we keep adding to this. So we've got some quotes with clip art, some video testimonials from community members, parents, teachers, and students. And then some infographics And so how to support your public library. And a lot of this is library. And then what does censorship do? Some terrific infographics. And then steps to take fan books week year round. How to make a display, things to do, actions to take. So some of these were adapted from other sources. And I think Kelly Jensen did a lot of these below. And then up here we have things from us and from other organizations. And then finally, what we have here is curated social media accounts. And this will take a moment to populate, but this is a streaming sort of Twitter list and some other resources that you can follow and get involved with. And so this is a sort of a curated list that Lucy Santos Green put together of different groups that talk about this and are going to be up to date on different things. Also, Book Riot's literary activism newsletter is terrific. I'll just pull that really quick. And all you have to do is just put in your email and you can go in and subscribe to it. And we have more things planned. Valerie, anything else you want to add to this that you want me to pull back up?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, so I did answer in the chat. There was a question about the resource for talking to parents. And so I did find that link. So the person, Tracy, you can go back now to chat and I put that link in there. And I am just looking to see, we've got 4 minutes left. So I'm looking to see if we got all of the other questions, and we did. But one thing, April, that I did want to maybe talk really quickly about is the idea, since of course we've got librarians here, right? Is the self-censorship aspect of this, is that we want to be careful to not be scared, right? We're doing all of the right things. We have our selection policies in place, and we know that our community needs books that represent them, that everyone can see, can see themselves in the books that they have on the shelves. So self-censorship is something to kind of be careful of and don't get scared, right?
Yeah, and it can be intimidating. We really want to make sure that that we've thought through what we want to what our conversations are going to look like when we do this. That we are going to sorry, I'm moving things around here. That we need to be prepared as much as we can. And I think the conversation is really, really important, and the relationships we build with the community will have a huge impact on how this goes. I know it sometimes feels like a little bit of a personal attack when someone brings up, why do you have this book in your collection? But it's really important for us to think about, we appreciate that you're interested, and not take it personally, even though sometimes it feels very, very personal. Mm-hmm. So, make sure you're displaying things, even if if you think it may be controversial. If you've taken the time to read this, to look at the reviews, and you think it should be added to the collection, then add it to the collection. Don't make this might get challenged be a reason for not including it in the collection. Exactly. Do not make that decision before there is an issue. Do not make that decision to exclude something for that reason. And if you've got a great policy, strong policies and procedures, then use it. You are following it. Make sure that you are following it. And if they aren't being followed, push back and help them understand why it's important to follow the policy and what the ramifications are if they are not following the policy.
Exactly.
Wow, this was so fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
I did put a link to the slides in the chat, and then just, check out our website, and we are happy to answer any questions. Feel free to contact us at another time, and thank you for letting us present to you today.
Thank you so much, Valerie and April. That was phenomenal, actually. So
Very
I'm going to go
fast.
through all of them. Again, there's so much to unpack there. So can we
you.
please relist the link?
Yes.
Yes.
I will put it in the chat. It is coming right up. I thought I had it pasted. Okay, there you go.
Thank you, because I'm going to put the link to the Library 2.0. If you have time to attend the rest of the sessions, the last session and then the closing session, please do so. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to stop the recording.